In this section, we'll talk a bit about GIS queries, which is part of your Chapter 2 tutorial and assignment set. First of all, GIS queries are used to look at the relationships between the data table and the graphics you're mapping on the screen. So the data tables, the attribute tables, include a great deal of information, and GIS queries will help you sort through that information. Records from a feature attribute table are then selected using query criteria. Query will automatically highlight the corresponding graphic features. So for example, this is a simple query criterion that you need to think about. Each query will consist of a data attribute. So for example, what's the variable you want to look at? This is otherwise known as a field in the attribute table in ArcMap. A logical operator such as equal or plus or and or like. And then a value. The value would be one of the subcategories. So this would be one of the categories where you're saying, okay, we want to find out the data attribute, which would be in this case the nature code equals, in this case, drugs. So where would you find that? You can also do date queries. One of the tools that you can use is the percent wildcard, where the symbol stands for characters of any kind. So for example, you would want to look at, if you wanted to find out where there's data where you had any kind of burglary, so maybe the burglaries are subclassified, instead of calculating a new field and going through all that, you could simply go and make a query that would say, we want to look at a name like, so name is your data attribute, that's one of the field names, like, so that's your logical operator, and BUR percent, it's going to select any crime with names starting with the letters BUR, including burglaries, business burglaries, and residential burglaries. So for example, if you notice in the query builder, this is best selected from the query builder options, so that instead of typing it yourself, you should select it, you double click to place it in the query builder itself. So nature code like BUR percent. And the result will show us then all of the cases where there was any event recorded as a burglary. Another way to do a query is a compound query. This is where you're combining two or more simple queries with logical connectives and or. For example, nature underscore COD equals drugs and date. So we want to know where there were drug crimes, in this case after, that's greater than, a particular date. So the results are drug crimes that were committed after August 1st of 2012. Notice it's the greater than sign, 2012, 08, 01. So this shows what that compound attribute query would look like. Nature underscore COD equals drugs and call date greater than date 2012-08-01, and then there's also a time on there as well, 000000 to start it at the beginning of the day. Once you click OK, it will then generate a result that will then show you only those selected features. This is just meant to give you a basic overview of queries. You'll begin working with them more in the tutorial manual on both the tutorials and your assignments, and you'll find out that this is a very useful and powerful tool to be able to use in GIS. So that concludes this section of the lecture material, and the next slides will get more into detail related to some of the specifics on Chapter 3 of the tutorial manual.